The following scenario is hypothetical and presented for educational and entertainment purposes. You look at a termite mound and think, ah yes, a dirt castle built by insects with the interior design sense of old toast. Then the scientific trouble begins. Because that lumpy tower in the sun is not just a pile of soil. It is a breathing machine, a thermal regulator, a humidity manager, and in some species, a biological skyscraper assembled by millions of tiny workers that have never met an architect, never drawn a blueprint, and absolutely never held a committee meeting about airflow. That is where the mystery becomes delicious. A termite mound can stay astonishingly stable inside while the world outside swings between blistering heat and cool night air. No single termite understands the whole structure. No foreman stands on a clod of mud yelling instructions through a megaphone. Each termite follows simple local rules. Pick up a pellet, sense moisture, detect carbon dioxide, respond to temperature, place material where chemical signals and airflow patterns make it seem right. From those tiny acts repeated thousands upon thousands of times, a living ventilation system emerges. The scientific term for this is self-organization, which is a wonderfully elegant way of saying that chaos sometimes puts on a tuxedo and behaves itself. Warm air rises through central channels. Cooler air is drawn through lower passages. Porous walls help exchange gases. Moisture is managed carefully because termites are soft-bodied creatures with a powerful dislike of drying out, which is fair because becoming a crispy insect is bad for long-term career prospects. The mound does not just shelter the colony, it collaborates with it. The insects shape the structure, and the structure shapes the insect's behavior in return. Even more impressive, the mound is not static. It changes as outside conditions change. Openings can be sealed, tunnels expanded, surfaces rebuilt after rain or damage. This is not intelligence in the human sense, but it is a distributed kind of problem solving that makes our obsession with lone genius look a little theatrical. The tower works because nobody is in charge. And once you accept that, a stranger question begins to crawl into view. If termites can adjust their cities without a planner, what happens when the pressure around them is no longer seasonal, but human? Human pressure rarely arrives wearing a villain cape. More often it comes as a road, a farm boundary, a chainsaw, a grazing herd, a village expansion, or the slow, rude rearrangement of temperature and moisture by climate change. To us, these look like ordinary edits to a landscape. To termites, they are the equivalent of someone removing your walls, changing the oxygen in your bedroom, and replacing your roof with a frying pan. And yet, again and again, termite societies respond with unnerving elegance. What makes their response so fascinating is that they do not merely survive by hiding, they survive by tuning the physics of their homes. In disturbed habitats, mound shapes can shift, heights vary, wall thickness changes, openings may become narrower or more strategically placed. Colonies exposed to stronger sunlight, drier air, or altered soil conditions can end up building structures that manage heat loads differently, not because anyone called an emergency summit, but because countless workers keep reacting to local cues until the mound settles into a new equilibrium. It is adaptation without an overseer, engineering without ego. This is where the mystery becomes slightly uncomfortable for humans, because we prefer adaptation stories with heroes in lab coats, or at least a dramatic soundtrack. Termites instead offer a quieter lesson. Change the environment and behavior changes. Change behavior and structure changes. Change structure and the colony's future shifts with it. The mound becomes a physical record of pressure, almost like a fossil written in wet soil before it hardens. If you know how to read airflow, porosity, tunnel geometry, and thermal gradients, you are not just looking at an insect home. You are looking at a negotiation between biology and a changing world. Scientists studying these systems often treat mounds as natural experiments in collective intelligence. Sensors placed inside and around them reveal temperature buffering, gas exchange dynamics, and the importance of daily heating and cooling cycles. Computer models suggest that even minor repeated actions by workers can produce large-scale architectural order, especially when the structure itself feeds information back into behavior. In plain language, the mound whispers instructions simply by existing. And that is the eerie, funny twist. Termites may not know architecture, yet their buildings remember the environment better than many human plans do. Which raises a dangerous thought. If the mound is a living answer to pressure, then somewhere inside those twisting tunnels lies the clue to a larger secret. Perhaps the real architect is not the termite at all, but the invisible hand of physics, waiting for the colony to listen. That is the major revelation hiding under the comedy of tiny insects hauling mud like overworked construction crews with no helmets and no payroll. The mound is not a monument to termite genius in the way a cathedral is a monument to human intention. It is something stranger, a partnership between simple bodies, shifting materials, and environmental forces that do much of the planning by pushing back. Heat rises, air diffuses, moisture migrates, carbon dioxide accumulates, walls crack, soil hardens, and the termites keep answering these signals with microscopic decisions. Over time, the colony does not impose order on nature so much as bargain with it, one grain at a time. And that is why termite towers feel almost eerie when viewed scientifically. They suggest that intelligence can exist without a central mind, and design can appear without a designer. In the same way a snowflake forms from physical rules rather than artistic ambition, a termite mound emerges from feedback loops. But unlike a snowflake, this structure is alive with maintenance, revision, and repair. It is less a building than a conversation. Every tunnel is a sentence written in soil. Every vent is punctuation. Every sealed crack is the colony muttering, not that way, this way. If that sounds poetic, good. Nature has been doing advanced engineering for millions of years, and somehow still gets described as if it merely wandered into success by accident. What makes this even more relevant is that these insect cities may help humans rethink our own. Engineers have studied termite mounds for clues about passive cooling and ventilation, especially in hot climates where buildings consume huge amounts of energy just to remain habitable. The irony is wonderful. Our species invented blueprints, steel, simulations, and air conditioning, then turned around and realized that a colony of pale insects with a dirt budget had already been experimenting with climate control for ages. Not perfectly, not magically, but effectively enough to keep a superorganism alive in punishing conditions. So the humble mound stops being a curiosity and becomes a warning wrapped in a joke. Animals do not wait for speeches about resilience. They adapt through behavior, material, and time. Quietly, relentlessly, sometimes beautifully. The termite tower stands there in the heat like a riddle in plain sight, asking whether survival belongs most to the strongest creature or to the one that learns how to let physics become part of its body. And once you hear that question, the landscape looks a little less empty than before.